You've been lied to about where chocolate comes from. It wasn't Switzerland. It wasn't a candy bar. And it was never sweet. Imagine you are standing in a jungle 4,000 years ago. It is hot. It is dense. And hanging from the trees around you are long yellow and green pods, about the size of a small rugby ball. You open one. Inside are seeds covered in a sweet white pulp. You try one of the seeds. It is so bitter you immediately spit it out. You would walk away and never think about it again. But the Olmecs didn't walk away. They figured out that if you took those bitter seeds and left them to slowly break down in their own heat for several days, then dried them, then roasted them over a fire, then ground them into a paste, and mixed that paste with water, something completely new came out. Dark, rich, intense, unlike anything that had ever existed before. They used it in ceremonies. They gave it to warriors before battle. They used it as medicine. They called it the food of the gods. And for the next few thousand years, nobody outside this region had any idea it existed. Quick question, and this tells me everything about you. That original drink, bitter, cold, spicy, no sugar at all. Would you try it? Comment bitter if you would. Comment sweet if you need the sugar to survive. I read every single one. Let's see which side this audience is on. The Maya took what the Olmecs discovered and made it the center of everything. For the Maya, chocolate was not a treat you had sometimes. It was part of every single meal. Most Mayan households drank chocolate every day. They mixed it with chili peppers, cornmeal, honey, and water. They poured it back and forth between 2 cups from up high, letting the air create a thick foam on top. The foam was considered the best part. The darker and thicker the foam, the better the drink. They used it at weddings, at funerals, when a baby was born, when someone died. Their creation story said that humans were made from a mix of the blood of the gods and cacao pods. Chocolate was not just food, it was part of what they believed made a person human. They also used cacao beans as money. A forest rabbit cost 10 beans. A turkey cost 100. People were literally drinking their bank accounts. Quick question before we go further. If you could choose, would you drink the original bitter, cold, spicy Mayan version? Or are you a sweet chocolate only kind of person? Comment bitter if you try the original. Comment sweet if you need the sugar. Let's see which side wins. By the 1400s, the Aztecs had taken it even further. They believed cacao was a gift from their god Quetzalcoatl, who carried a cacao tree down from the mountains as a present to humanity. The Aztec Emperor Montezuma II reportedly drank 50 golden cups of chocolate every single day. Warriors received cacao before going into battle. Cacao beans were so valuable that people made fake ones out of clay and tried to pass them off as real. Then in 1519, Spanish explorer Hernán Cortés arrived in Mexico. He visited Montezuma's palace. He saw the golden cups. He tasted the drink. He called it a drink that builds resistance and fights fatigue. In 1528, he brought cacao beans back to Spain. The Spanish added sugar and honey to the bitter drink. They served it hot. The royal court loved it immediately. And then, they kept it completely secret. For almost 100 years, Spain was the only country in Europe that knew chocolate existed. The monks who were processing the beans were sworn to silence. An entire continent had no idea what was being drunk behind closed Spanish doors. The secret got out in the early 1600s. Nobody is completely sure how. A Spanish princess, a monk who couldn't stay quiet. Doesn't matter. It became the drink of the French court and the secret of English coffee houses. If you were powerful in the 1700s, you were drinking chocolate. But through all of it, the courts, the houses, the soldiers, chocolate was still just a drink. Nobody had figured out how to make it solid. You could not buy a chocolate bar anywhere on Earth until 1847. The thing you eat every day is only about 175 years old. Before we get to the inventor who finally made chocolate solid, if you are finding this history as fascinating as I do, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm show this to other chocolate lovers. The 1800s. 1828. Van Houten, Dutch chemist, cocoa press. Separates fat from powder. Chocolate gets cheap. 1847. Joseph Fry, Bristol, mixes it back together. Pours it in a mold. First chocolate bar ever. 1875. Daniel Peter, Switzerland, adds condensed milk. First milk chocolate. World loses its mind. 1879. Rodolphe Lindt. Yes, that Lindt. Grinds it for hours. Smooth texture. Still what you eat today. 4 people. 50 years. The entire modern chocolate industry. By the 1900s, chocolate was no longer a luxury. Milton Hershey saw chocolate machines at a World's Fair in 1893. He bought them immediately. By 1900, he was selling milk chocolate bars for 5 cents. Cadbury launched Dairy Milk in 1905. Toblerone in 1908. Kit Kat in 1935. One by one, every bar you grew up eating appeared in those few decades. Today, the global chocolate industry is worth over $140 billion a year. But here's the part most chocolate videos skip. West Africa grows more than 70% of all the cacao in the world. Ghana and Ivory Coast grow more than half of everything. And yet, more than 2 million children work on those farms right now. Most of the farmers who grow cacao have never tasted the chocolate it becomes. The people at the very beginning of the chain earn the least. The companies at the end earn the most. This problem still exists today, despite years of promises from the biggest chocolate brands in the world. And now, the thing almost nobody knows. The thing you earned by staying until the end. You know the first chocolate bar was made in 1847. You know milk chocolate arrived in 1875. You probably think that is where chocolate as food began. It isn't. In 1692, 155 years before the first chocolate bar, a man named Antonio Latini in Naples, Italy, wrote down the first ever recipe for frozen chocolate. No milk, no cream, no eggs, just 3 ingredients: chocolate, sugar, water, frozen into a block. Chocolate ice cream existed before the chocolate bar. The thing you scoop out of a tub on a summer evening is older than the thing you snap off a wrapper, and almost nobody knows that. The Olmecs found the seed, the Maya made it sacred, the Aztecs made it currency, Spain made it sweet, Europe made it fashionable, Naples made it cold, and Joseph Fry, finally, made it solid. So the next time you unwrap a bar of chocolate, take just a moment. Think about the Olmec farmer who first figured out what to do with a bitter seed, the Maya who made it part of every meal, the Spanish monk who couldn't keep the secret, the Dutch chemist, the British chocolatier, the Swiss neighbors, every single person who passed it forward. And think about the farmer right now who grew the bean in your hand and has never once tasted what it became. Not everything about chocolate is sweet, but knowing its full story makes it taste a little different.